Right. Hi guys, welcome back to Mobile London. Thanks for all the continued support and everyone who's attended the meetups and sort of viewing our videos and giving us comments on YouTube. Good to see that people are still keen to see more videos. Here today with Andrea, the iOS developer at Just Eat. Thanks to him for taking the time out today. But Andrea, for the guys who don't know, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello guys, I'm Andrea. I'm an Italia iOS engineer. I moved in Bristol in UK to work for Just Eat. I started 4 years ago, and I'm an iOS engineer in Just Eat.
Yeah, and like I know we spoke before, and your iOS journey, like you mentioned there, started around 4 years ago in Italy. But you didn't sort of do like a computer science sort of university, did you? You were more sort of self-taught. What got you into iOS development over everything else?
I've just been an Apple fanboy for a long time. Both my first iPhone, my first iPad, and then I both my first Mac, and then I started studying computer science at the high school, and it was during those years that basically you start learning your first programming languages. You start learning, digging basically more into how computers works, how programming works, developing your first problem solving skills, kind of these things. And at that point, I decided to, basically match those two passions, computer science and Apple. Yeah. So I decided to basically start trying to study Swift. Mm-hmm. So I started with Swift on my own during last year at the high school. And then when I finished the high school, I started looking for a job. And I started working in a startup in Milan.
Okay, fair enough. So like you mentioned there, so you learned a little bit in high school. Before you joined the startup, did you have like a portfolio already of personal applications that you'd worked on, or?
Yeah, so basically, I don't know exactly how it works in UK, but in Italy during your last year of high school, there is kind of final exam. And one part of this exam was to basically present a project.
Okay.
And because I was studying computer science, teachers were expecting a computer science project, so like an app or kind of a program, whatever. And I decided to develop my first iOS app. So it was kind of a complete project, a complete iOS app. It was I think it was a time tracking app for workers. So I think, the idea was like you don't need like a badge to track your working time. You just then need, your phone scanning a QR code, and I'm able to localize you and check you physically in the I don't know, in your office, and then I will start tracking your hours, your working hours. So that was my first app, and basically that was the one I was kind of showing during my my first interviews.
Okay, fair enough. So you did have something there. I think a lot of junior guys who I spoke to in the past, especially now, they if they are finished university, high school, they're trying to at least get a portfolio built up to sort of show companies, and that definitely does help. Is that something you still do in your spare time, or do you still sort of have your own personal apps? Or I appreciate you obviously you do it 24/7 for work, but is this something you still toy around with?
No, not a lot. I'm quite workaholic, so I usually spend a lot of time working, or even during my free time, I usually, came up with some new ideas for my company at the moment. So I've been trying, now that we are working from home, I have more time, so I try to like have some more side projects. So yeah, it was fine it was nice to have some nice project.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously coming to the UK, Just Eat was the first company you joined, obviously well-known company in the UK. I'm pretty sure everyone sort of has the application. Before, had you worked in similar sectors or apps that were to that scale? Or?
Yeah, so I not as big as Just Eat, because Just Eat was the first global company that I worked for. Before that, I worked for another company in Milan. It was called, in Italian, it's called Subito. In UK, it's probably known more as Spock.
Okay, yep.
So it's the same multinational company. And I was working basically for the Italian product. So each country has a different, it's a marketplace, so like it's a competitor of eBay where you can buy and sell things. And I was working for the Italian one. It's a quite big product in Italy. And that was my first kind of big product when you start having like millions of users in iOS. And that was super useful then when I started working in Just Eat, because in Just Eat you have more millions of users across the world. So that was super nice.
Yeah, I bet. And I'm assuming obviously the transition must have, did you find that different from working from an Italian company to a UK company? Did you find there were many differences there? How did you find that?
Yeah, I mean, the first big difference was like that in Italy, I was working with a full Italian team, so everyone was Italian. And in Just Eat was my first company when I basically joined a multicultural team. And that was, was quite a challenge because you're working with people with different backgrounds, different cultures. So even the way I was used to express myself, I need to basically change it a little bit to work with other people. So that was a super big challenge that I had.
Yeah, no, I bet. And your Just Eat team, you're based in Bristol, as you mentioned at the start. I know they have London offices as well. Yep. Do you mainly just talk to the Bristol team, or are you speaking to people in all different locations?
No, I speak basically even with the London guys. At this point in time, it basically doesn't matter where they're based. So yeah, we just spoke. We have even an office in Kiev. So I spoke even with guys in Kiev.
Yeah, and I bet, like you mentioned there, obviously now the way things are, obviously the pandemic, people are working remotely. Were you ever exposed to sort of remote work beforehand, or were you pretty much full time in the office, or?
It was quite a 50-50. I was used to just like work 1 day, 2 days per week remotely, but it's still a difference because when I was working remotely, like the majority of the team was in the office, and this was the first time where everyone in the team was working from home. And even like when you need to do some things like brainstorming, whiteboarding sessions, it's kind of a different way on how you handle this kind of sessions remotely. So that was quite a big change for us.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I speak to people on a daily basis, obviously dealing it with myself. You've got all these Zoom calls or meetups. It's a lot more catching up to do, but I think it probably took a few companies maybe a couple of weeks to sort of get into sort of the groove of things. Is it sort of working pretty fluidly now for yourselves?
Yeah, I think we just get used to it. Yeah, I think it for me it works fine because being a developer, most of the time you just need to write code. So, and when you write code, you just need computer, internet connection, and no matter where you are, you just need to write code. Yeah. There are even other moments where you need to chat with others, have meetings, make decisions. But I think we just get used to do basically handle those meetings remotely. We start using different tools. They're quite handy. So yeah, not too bad. It's not too bad.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think like you just said, people are a bit more used to it now. It's becoming one of their norms, and a lot of companies are obviously debating the idea of, especially for, like you say, developers, sort of tech guys, whether it's going to be fully remote or things like that. What's your thoughts on sort of fully remote working? Is that something you'd be sort of keen on, or do you still like going into the office? What's your personal preference?
I've never worked fully remote for a company. I think you need, if you work in a team, you need, to see the team in person. There are moments, there are some, type of meetings you need to do in person, or at least if you do them in person, they're more useful. So I would, my personal point of view is that probably you should just have some spaces in your office available for teams when they on their own they decide, when on their own they decide to just meet up and do this meeting together, and then when they want to just work from home they can, without giving you something like you can just work 1 day per week remotely, or 2 days per week, because 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, it doesn't kind of matter. I think if you just give the freedom to the team to just self-decide how they wanna organize themselves, I think that's the best way to act.
Yeah, and give them that sort of responsibility, and I think a lot of companies are sort of realizing that, and I think it depends on it's everyone's preference, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's per person, per company, seeing what they feel. Obviously as well. So back to your sort of iOS career. You're obviously a senior iOS developer now. Do you like being a hands-on, or do you reckon in the future you'd be looking for more of a lead role, or what's sort of your plans for your career?
Well, I've just been promoted to senior, so like I think I wanna spend some time coding now. There are some great new frameworks coming out during this period. Probably I see myself in the future as a manager and not as a technical person. But I still have time to take the decision.
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, you're early in your career. You've just had your promotion to sort of senior, which is obviously great news. I think as well. I don't know if you want to give your details after, but I know you mentioned, I've seen on LinkedIn, that you're potentially looking to mentor more junior iOS developers later down the line. So I'll put your sort of LinkedIn out there if anyone wants to get in contact, or feel free to sort of ask yourself. But it was really good obviously speaking to yourself today, learning more about how you sort of came up through the ranks, what sort of got you into sort of learning iOS development in the first place. It definitely helps a lot of junior guys when they're looking to sort of take their next move. Any sort of tips that you have that you sort of realized when interviewing and things like that? Anything that you sort of felt worked well for you? Or
I would say, don't be shy. Be yourself. I know it's difficult, but just relax. At the end of the day, it's a chat between you and a company. I did some interview as an interviewee and interviewer. I just need to more a little bit about you, just trying to understand what are your skills and if they match what I'm looking for. So if you just be yourself, be relaxed. It's like Tinder. It can be a match. It can't, maybe. It's not gonna be the end of the day. There are a lot of companies out there looking for developers of different level, skills, type. So just be yourself. Be relaxed.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think that's pretty much what a lot of the guys we speak to say. It's pretty similar, and it's sort of taking your time. But look, thanks for taking your time out today, Andrea, to speak with me. Like I said, I'll get this uploaded and put maybe your LinkedIn on there if people want to get in contact about mentoring or ask a few questions. But thanks to everyone who sort of tuned in and sort of watched this back on our YouTube. As always, if you are looking as well for new roles, feel free to reach out to me, guys. I'll put my details on there and my LinkedIn. But thank you very much, and see you at the next Mobile London. Cheers.
Thank you for having me. Cheers.